buy from us, you get the freedom of a 7-day return policy. This isn't...
There it is. So I've got a delay by the looks of it. So it looks like I've got a slight lag in how this is working here. So I don't know. I have to wait and see if people can hear me. Give me a response if you can. They've changed the format a little bit, so it's a little bit different. Well, it's saying there's an error on the stream, so I don't know if it's working or not. Oh, good. Somebody can hear me. It's kind of weird. I'm trying to monitor this, and my little monitor screen has a, I don't know how far it's behind, so it's kind of weird. So I just thought I'd do a live stream and see how things are going. I know I haven't done this in a while, and I don't know why it's so slow. I'd like it to be right on time, but I can't get it to. Okay, now I'm starting to get feedback. Again, it's kind of weird. I don't know why this is lagging. I don't know if I can look. Let me see if I can do this a different way. See, if I do it on the OBS program, it shows it as solid and fast and up to date. But if I do that, then I can't see the chat stuff going on. So I don't know. I'll see if I can keep up with it. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay. Anyway, I just had a conversation today. Had somebody contact me asking some questions about a fastback, and just some general conversation. And so I thought, I haven't done this in a while, and it's kind of difficult, even at that, because there's no, I have to look over here at the chat and see what's being said or what's going on, and it's nice to actually hear a question or something like that. And anyway, I had a conversation with this guy, and it was dealing with installing the torque boxes. He was adding them to a 65 fastback, so hopefully I gave him some good answers. Well, I could look at the chat on the phone, but I don't know if I can see it. It's kind of small. So anyway, what's everybody up to tonight? Having a hot, muggy day? I know it's been raining off and on pretty consistent here this past couple weeks, really, in the Atlanta area. And I know they're having all kinds of storms coming through south of us. Yeah, it looks like that stream is probably a minute behind on what I'm seeing and what it's doing. So it's going to be kind of weird. I don't know if there's another way I can do this. Yeah, it's been hot. It's definitely been hot, and I've been taking advantage of the mini split. Yeah, I think I'd rather be working on a Galaxie instead of hanging drywall. Although I have hung my share of drywall, so. So I've got a question from Second Stance. Is it possible to supercharge a 4.3 V6 Chevy Blazer? Sure it is. If you go back in the history of the V6s, you know, they did the, uh, what's the word? Oh gosh. They had the, Pontiac had a turbo car, or well, supercharged. I'd say you can, as long as somebody makes the hardware for it. You know, that's a pretty tough little engine. It's basically just a small block Chevy with 2 cylinders cut off. So you'd have to do some research on that and see what's available as far as that goes. Yeah, Typhoon. That's one of them. GMC Typhoon, and the other one. I can't even think of the name right now. Um, yeah, the Typhoon. Those are hard to find anymore. Oh, Grand National, GNX, those sort of things. Um, R6 Mikado. I'm going to be painting a 67 fastback in a week. Check out my build and critique it. I'd love to hear your feedback if you can. On Instagram. Okay. Well, I'm on Instagram too, so I don't know if you're following me or not. But if you go to Joe Daddy's Garage, that's my Instagram. Grand National. That's correct. I think they had a GNX though. I think. Anyway, those cars are still amazing. Still super fast for their time period. And I know they were turbocharged. Yeah, mini splits, Jason, you're right. I'm loving this thing. And I think I'm probably going to do it's actually been, tomorrow will be 1 year since the installation of the mini split. And I know I did a review at 6 months, and I had somebody ask me, they wanted to see an update on, you know, where I'm at with it a year later. And you know, that mini split has had a lot of great comments, a lot of views, and there's been quite a few have come on there and said, "Oh, this thing's going to fail. You know, you didn't do a vacuum, you didn't do all this other stuff, but it's not designed for that." And I kind of got tired of following or trying to explain that. And some of these are from techs, you know, AC techs and stuff. And I don't know if they're just concerned that they're going to maybe lose business from people who can do it themselves. I don't know, but things been doing fantastic. And I may do a review on it and try to update on power usage, because I know that there was some people asking about that, and I've pretty much come to the point where I don't leave it on all the time. I tried doing that, and that wasn't a good idea, because it just ran, because you know the building itself is not well insulated. You know, I still have that roll up door, and that kind of defeats the purpose some. But what I do now is, if I come out in the morning, like I go to the gym twice a week. So before I go to when I leave to go to the gym or come home from the gym, I'll turn on the unit, and by the time I'm cleaned up and back out here in the garage, it's comfortable. So um, RC Mikado, R6 Mikado or Macedo, I'll have to follow you on it or find you on Instagram. I'm sure you're there. and I'll make a note of that and check out your build, and we'll go from there. Jason, AMD is putting out full factory panels for the 64 Galaxie. They're a godsend, really nice stuff. Nobody else offers anything but crappy patches. I know. If you look back on the timeline, probably 2011 or 12, when I worked on the 65 Galaxie Convertible with the body shop, I had a tough time. We ordered some patch panels, what we thought were going to be decent copies of the original, and they were not. They were just flat panels. The only shape they had was where the lip for the wheel arch was. That was it. They might as well have been made for a flat body, you know, the late model stock cars, because it was just flat. And so I had to hand form those panels to let them, you know, to make them fit the car. And same way with the trunk pan in that 65. It was terrible. And I ended up cutting and slicing and fitting. I did all kinds of work to it. And I made note of that on the videos, because, and then I had actually had a company contact me and say, yeah, we're working on it. Well, I don't know if they ever updated that or not, but if AMD is making it, it's going to be a good panel. I believe that 100%. And on that AMD process, I may have mentioned this before. There was a years ago at the body shop, we did a project for a soldier, and I think I have a video on here for that. It was a 66 Charger fastback, and we did a lot of work to that car. We had some help from a bunch of other people, but one thing that was really cool about it, it needed a trunk pan, and AMD was making a trunk pan for that car, and they had not test fitted it yet. And I wish I would have done a video on this because it was really cool. AMD sent that trunk pan to another shop where they had the car all cut apart, and they just wanted to make sure it would drop in. And then they sent it to us, and it actually had a sticker on it. And I think I don't know if I have a picture of it somewhere or not, but it was either like prototype number 1 or panel number 1 or something like that. And so we got that panel, and I could not get it in the car because we didn't cut the quarters off, and the tail panel was good. And there's no way you're going to drop that pan in a one-piece deal. So I had to split the pan and cut it above or on the frame rail. And when I did that, I split it in 2 pieces, and I was able to drop in one side and then drop in the other side, and then, you know, seam weld it and blend it smooth, and it turned out fantastic. But it was really cool to have AMD on board with that project and basically just give us that panel. And car turned out pretty cool. It was all hot rod black, and long story on that thing, but it was a lot of fun to build, and you know, went to a great guy. So Jason Layton, I saw that. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so you did see that Galaxie video, yeah. And if you didn't, I don't know if you saw all the videos on that, but that car was a challenge. And it's you know, like even the front inner fenders, you know, nobody makes those, so I had to hand build the whole front section of that right front inner fender for that car, that was a cool challenge. I've said it before, I've said it many times, I like a challenge, and that was a good one, and I was able to pull it off and make that work. Let's see. Hey, Leonard. Leonard, nice to see you back. How's the Brooklyn Pony coming along? And I know what you mean. I ordered a quarter panel, and it didn't even come close to the body lines. Yeah, it's pretty common. Brooklyn Pony's coming along. Trying to get some things moving on it. I know I talked with the owner, and we talked about the hood hinges, because I brought it up in the that I was trying to straighten out the hinges, and he said he didn't want to do that. So I think we're going to end up with some billet hinges on that car, which is a big deal, because the factory hinges or the factory style hinges can be pretty tough. And with these aftermarket hoods, you really run a chance of flexing that hood, trying to get it right. And there's not much you can do besides put weaker springs if you could find them, or take the springs out and use a hood prop or something. But the billet ones are pretty cool. I've seen Double R Restoration. If you follow him and his channel, he had some for a Camaro. I forget what the company name was, but they were pretty sharp. So I'm hoping we can work that out and get some on the Brooklyn Pony. Hey, Mike, glad you're here watching. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right, Jason. The finger cuts, but even at that, I modified it even beyond what they had done. That felt like such a hack job. I don't know why. You get so close to making something right, and then you just roll finger cuts around and tack weld it together. It's just bad, just bad. Loose cannon. How many hours are you on the Brooklyn Pony? I don't know. I don't track my time. If I track my time, nobody would pay me. Nobody could afford to have me do their car. I've said it before. I don't track my time, but I don't get in a hurry. I like doing things my way. I like doing it right, or as close to right as I can get it. And I don't like to count time. I've never been. I don't like doing that paperwork. Tracking things and keeping up with things. I'll keep track of certain pieces of paperwork and that sort of thing, but tracking time, I never got into it. So I really don't know, and it really doesn't matter. Mike, I was just wondering, how long have you been doing body work? That's a good question. I don't know if you've seen other videos, and I've explained that I grew up, my dad had a junkyard. So I've literally grown up working on cars every day since I was a kid, whether it be doing little things or big things, whatever. One of the first projects I actually did was, believe it or not, I was 15. I think I was 15. And my dad had a 70 notchback show up at the junkyard. It was a 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual car. So it had 4-lug wheels. And it was hit so hard in the right front that the right suspension was basically ripped off of it. Fender was crushed. And that was my first real kind of metal project that I did on a car. And I replaced all the suspension. I put a 69 front clip on it. And it got as far as me driving it around my dad's junkyard, and that's it. Never got actually on the road, but it was a fun project to build. But beyond that, I've worked on miscellaneous stuff for years, doing patch panels when I was 16, 17 years old. So there's a big gap between that time as a teenager until I started doing it more in this manner, let's say, probably in 2000, 2002, 2003 is when I started getting more serious about it. I'd always done sheet metal and repair work and stuff like that, but me and a buddy started doing cars, and I was doing the body work and he was painting them, and then that kind of progressed into the body shop. And so at the body shop, I was the heavy hitter. I did all the heavy pulling on the frame machine, most of the body work stuff that needed to be done, and getting it prepped. And so that's just kind of been an ongoing thing. But it's become kind of normal for me now, I guess. Walt King, I love the work you do. I was wondering if you had any advice. Converting my hard top to convertible top. I'm not a body mechanic. I'm a diesel mechanic. Well, the hard part about converting a hard top to a convertible is the fact that you need more support underneath the car. If you look at the Brooklyn Pony car, It has the outer rocker panel, the inner plate straight up rocker panel, and then it has an inner rocker panel. They did that because without a roof, you don't have any structure. You don't have any strength. So it could really collapse at the door seams. So if you're going to try to convert a coupe to a convertible, just know that going in, you're going to have to add something to make it rigid enough to support it. Otherwise, cutting the roof off and putting in the inner wheel houses is one part of it. And then if you're going to make it a true convertible, you're going to need the inner structure for the seat in the back seat where the convertible top mounts. So again, look at the Brooklyn Pony, and that's the piece that I salvaged out of the car when I first cut it up. So just know that those things are going to be, a little difficult. Also, your windshield frame is different because the convertible top meets it and locks into it. So if you're looking at doing a, what do they call them, cabriolet, where it's more of a rigid vehicle where you have a hard top that you can pull off, that's another thing to look at if you can make everything kind of merge together. Let's see. Carter 14, in your opinion, would it be easier to do a coupe to fastback or build a fastback from scratch? That's a good question. I guess the answer is on what you really want. I'm really have considered doing the conversion, but to do that, I want to start with a very solid car. The whole front end and all that, everything's solid. And then hopefully find something that's got rear damage or something that I can, justify cutting it up. But if you're going to go, if you do it that way, then you've got the whole front structure that's solid. You don't have to deal with anything. You've already got the windshield frame, the door jambs, all that stuff is in place. And then the kits they sell, if you do a true conversion, they sell the outer door openings, and the panels and everything that go associate with it. So I would probably try to lean that way if I could, just because I know that I'm starting with something that already has dimensions to it and it's already in place. Now, if you do one from scratch, then you got to, figure out how you're going to do serial numbers and that sort of thing. And that may become an issue. I don't know. Just know that, like when I did the Brooklyn Pony here, it takes a lot to get everything to fit and line up and match, and it can be a challenge. And it's not for everybody, but I'm just showing you that it can be done. So, hope that answers your question. Samuel Ramirez, did you have any formal training? Technically, no, I did not. The only training that I have as far as doing metal work or repair, sheet metal or welding or anything like that was again at my dad's junkyard. He, we had a stick welder, a 220 big, heavy stick welder. And so I learned to weld everything with stick welding, regular old style arc welding. And it's funny, growing up, my dad, the helmets we had, they didn't have any headbands in them. So we had to hang on to the helmet, which was in a way kind of a good thing because it forced me to learn how to be steadier with my hand. And so I would weld, hold on to the hood and do my job and do all that, welding process. And beyond that, everything I've learned, I've just kind of absorbed. I may have been around somebody who's done body work and kind of observed and gotten some tips or pointers. When we took over the first body shop, the owner was there, the guy that we bought it from. He stayed there for a few months. He had some vehicles he had to finish. So he was able to give me pointers and advice and some insight. I mean, that was very helpful. So it's kind of nice if you know somebody who has equipment or does the stuff and can spend a little time, you can learn a lot. It's funny talking about the bodywork stuff. Um, One of my more popular videos is actually the repair work that I did on that car that my daughter backed into. um, that's actually, I think that's probably my currently the highest rated video as far as views. And I still get people on there that, even though I explain that I'm doing this to show how uh, to do these repairs, they want to quickly say, "Oh, you can just buy a fender for 25 bucks." Well, yeah, anybody can bolt on a fender. I like the idea of showing people how this stuff is done and how they can, use it on different parts of the car. So, I don't know if anybody's still out there or not. Nope, I keep getting this error message. Oh, I don't know how to change that. I don't know how to change that. All right, who else is out there? There we go. Max 65. Putting an AOD training at 65. Any advice from dialing in the TV cable adjustment? Nope. I haven't done that, so I can't help you on that one. Sorry. Wish I could. I'm actually have looked a little bit into it, but I don't have a good answer for you. Loose cannon. Were you happy with the Dynacorn complete floor pan or floor you've used in a few of your builds? I bought one for my 69 sports roof. Basically, the only good parts on the car are the roof. Well, actually, I'm very happy with these floor pans. I know there's other people that make a pan, and as I pointed out, probably with these, with the process of building this car, if you were to um, go back and look at the TCI suspension deal, that was a conflict because the frame rails are fatter on the Dynacorn, but everything else lined up great. I'll use it again if I get an opportunity. I would be happy to use another Dynacorn floor pan. So, hi Cecil. Roberts, watching sir, still owe you a picture of the Mustang headlight bucket fix. Yes, you do. And you have my email, I'm sure. Hi Glenn. Hi Doug. Uh, hi Jack. Seb, do you have a deadline? Time to finish the Mustang? I hope not. I don't know if I actually do or not. I know things have delayed it off and on, getting stuff done and finding problems and backtracking to where, making the panels all line up the way I want them to. And, it's sometimes sometimes I just have to step away for a little while and do something else. Because it, things take time. And if you stay too long at something, you can get frustrated, and I don't want to do that. So sometimes I step away and do something else for a little bit. Samuel Ramirez, do I have help with these cars, or are you a one-man show? It's just me. That's it. I don't often get help. I've got one guy who stops by occasionally, but not to help. He comes to hang out a little bit and have some coffee, and so we'll talk over some things once in a while, and he goes. But nope, it's just me. I do it all myself. Hi Joe. Yep, things are going good. I hope things are going well for you too. Uh, Leonard, I worked with someone who does pre-36 cars, and he had to form a lot of his panels, and watching you scratch build parts has given me great pointers. Good, good, good. Hey, let's see, Recon, hey from Indiana. It has been a year on Brooklyn Pony yet? Oh yeah, it's actually been 2 years since it arrived and I started cutting it up. So yeah, it's actually been 2 years. Takes a while. Jack, best suspension for 66 fastback. Oh, I guess that's GT. I'm gonna assume that's GT, not GOT. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, and there are a lot of variables. Um, this TCI suspension is probably going to be great for this car, but I really don't have an opinion that's going to probably be what you're looking for, because some people like things to go certain, this way and operate this way, and you can have a 4-link, you can have this combination where it's got the torque arm that goes to the front. There's all kinds of variables that come into play. So I really can't say this is the one I would use, because it depends on what you're going to be doing with the car. Gary, is the Brooklyn Pony the only one you're working on at this time? Yes, technically, I only do one customer car at a time. And, in the meantime, I may do repair work on, whatever, doing brake jobs or stuff like that, or miscellaneous videos, or working on my daughter-in-law's car, or my son's car, or my wife's van, or friends' cars. And as far as, like I said, the Brooklyn Pony is the only customer car. And I also have the 68 Coupe, which I do occasionally do some stuff to it. And you've probably seen the videos on that, Jade. So, yep, got to step away sometimes. Mike's Woodshop. What trans and motor is going in Brooklyn Pony? That one right there. 347 stroker engine and an AOD transmission. I actually did an unboxing several videos ago. I don't know how long. If you go back and look, I did a thing called What's in the Box. And I unboxed the 347. I did not unbox the transmission, but I wanted to get a look at the engine. And so that's what I did. I unboxed it, and then I boxed it back up. So, Jason, Dad's got a 70 Mach 1, True Survivor, all original South Carolina car. We're in Ohio. Everything here is rotted. Can't wait to get my hands on it. It's a beauty. Yeah, I'm sure. And I grew up in the Rust Belt of Pennsylvania, so I know what it's like to have rotten cars. And that's why I really like living in Georgia, because that just doesn't really happen here. I mean, we get minor rust, but nothing like the cars from up north. Dino Max, Hydro from New Zealand. Do you do your own spray painting? Oh, Steve. Okay. Yes, Steve, I do, actually. If you go back and look at some of my other videos, like the Mystique videos and the light blue Mustang, my shop, I actually have a paint booth in the back of the shop. And I actually remodeled the paint booth a year or so ago, whatever it was, and closed it all in and insulated it. And so yeah, I do all the painting. I do everything, and if painting isn't my favorite thing, I could say that. I'd rather do sheet metal work all day, but I do paint. So, Robert, okay, you ordered from Krebs Engineering. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, this is Ford Performance, so it's a Ford crate engine. So I don't know the comparison, but I'm sure it's gonna be a cool engine. Do I still have it, Leonard? Do you still have the AC brackets from your '68? I don't know. I know I pulled all that stuff out, and I ended up selling all that, or well, the box, I sold it to somebody. Yeah, I don't really know if I have the um, any of those brackets. Sorry. And if I did, I wouldn't know what they look like, because when I first took the car apart, I don't even think, I think all that stuff was in the trunk. So I really don't know. Oh, that's something else I wanted to point out. Um, I did a a podcast this past week. It was see if I can find it. I'm going to pull it up on my phone to find the gentleman that did the podcast, and it's about Mustangs, and so it's probably way back in here. I get so many emails, but it's going to be probably put out next week, and I know it's here. But anyway, it was a nice thing to do. I had not done a podcast before, and I think I think it was fun. It was interesting, and I'll probably post on my Facebook page the link. But yeah, here it is. The guy's name is Doug Sandler, and the podcast will be Ford Mustang, the early years podcast, and he said it should be edited and put out this coming week. So, Glenn, painting is fun and challenging. Yes, yes, it is. One thing, I find about doing that sort of work, like um, one thing about doing the paint work, you have to have a perfect palette. I mean, you have to have a platform that's perfect. And so, to me, all that effort is the work. And you can paint, but let's say you have a car that has some flaws in it. Putting paint on it is just going to highlight those flaws. So you have to have a good base. And then when you spray paint, this is where I get worked up, because once you put stuff on and have an issue, you've got to start over. I mean, it's almost impossible to fix certain things that go wrong without starting from scratch. And that's where I get frustrated with it. I mean, I don't mind spraying and all that stuff. It's just the stress of making sure it looks right. So, Steven, is the crate motor going to require any mods to the frame rails? Nope. Um, as you, if you've seen the videos, I put that TCI suspension in, so it's got all the Mustang 2 style, cross member and support in it. And the kit came with motor mounts built for putting in the small block Ford directly. So it should be just a drop right in. And I'll hopefully soon be testing all that out and make sure it fits. Rick Gain, you do nice work. I really appreciate your attention to detail and how you care for these cars. Did you have to modify the transmission tunnel on the Brooklyn Pony for the AOD? I haven't gotten that far yet, Rick. I do have, if you were to go look back over some of the videos, I have a hollowed out shell that's sitting back here on the floor over there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have a hollowed out shell that I plan to bolt to a bare block and set it in the car and verify that it's going to clear everything. So at that point, I will do a video on that as well. So we'll see how that goes. Joe Cox, how long can epoxy primer hold up before I decide to paint? That's a really good question. The problem you run into, from my understanding, is, and I can't say for sure, I think epoxy will hold up a long time. The longer it sits, the harder it gets, and the harder it is to scuff. As long as it's not out in the sun, I think you're okay. I don't believe, and I can't guarantee this, but I don't believe epoxy has like UV protectant built in, like clear coat does, or even You know, that's how it's supposed to help protect the car. But epoxy, it's not going anywhere. You know, once it's applied and gets on the car, and I have a hard time scuffing it because it, like I said, it'll get hard, and that's okay. But just know that going in, that you're gonna have to do a little extra work before you start putting primer on top. But epoxy primer is a great thing. It's funny. I'm sitting here watching myself talk to myself, and I. So what else is going on? Any cool projects out there? Glenn, I did 3 coats clear, then buff. That's a good call. Uh, Max 65. Do you reupholster seat yourself? I've done it. I have. Um, it takes some work. It doesn't just slip together. But I've done some at the body shop, and it's you better have strong hands and good tools. Leonard, got a question. I've always used red oxide primers and epoxy primers. New to me, which is better? Where did you find red oxide? They still sell that stuff? Uh, well, I can't really tell you on the red oxide because I've not used that. I can tell you I've used epoxy, and so I don't have a good answer for you on that. But I'm not gonna go use red oxide because I just don't. I'm not familiar with it, and I don't know its parameters. You know, I try to use epoxy and all the primers associated with PPG, and that way everything's got the same chemical tolerance and all that stuff. Cecil, do you prefer epoxy primer rather than an etch primer, and why? That's a good question too. Depends on your application. If you're doing a whole car or a whole panel, get epoxy. It's a 2-part mix, and it has chemical reaction, and it bonds to the panel. Make sure it's clean, all that sort of thing. If you're doing small work, like the back quarter somewhere, and you've got a small area, I'm not against applying self-etch to that and then applying primers on top of that. I'm not against that. It's designed, like it says, to etch into the metal. So I've used both. I've had good results, and no complaints really either way. But for a big section, or the whole car or whatever, I use epoxy to cover that thing up. Hey Dave, Glenn Williams, thanks to 3M. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I use 3M buffing pads. Probably need to get a better buff though. My buffer's not very good. I don't guess I don't know that I've ever really looked for red oxide. I know. I think when I think red, I think about all the cars in the 50s and 60s where it was painted with red lead. That's what they called it. It was lead-based paint, and it was red. So, David Blackburn. Oh, Buddy. I guess Buddy, you're okay. When you do the wiring on the convertible, are you going with new? I guess that's wiring or factory. Or are you doing the wiring? All the wiring is gone in this car, so it's going to be new aftermarket wiring. And odds are, I mean, I'll do the wiring. I will. but odds are it's going to be American Auto Wire is probably the first choice that I would go with. And then there's other ones out there, but I have experience with American Auto Wire. I think they're pretty much the same thing. The nice part about American is they supply you with all the extras. Usually it comes with a headlight switch, the key switch, all these little things that you need to make everything work. It comes in their kits. So I've had good luck with their kits. Yeah, red lead. Yeah, stay away from that stuff. Dave, what is your main go-to company for Mustang parts? Who you typically check out first? Well, by default, I've always gone with Mustangs Unlimited, and now they're gone. As far as gone from Atlanta, I liked having them kind of in my back door, and the reason for that was I would go directly to their store in Atlanta and hand pick my sheet metal, because you can have variances. I know, like on the 68, I had um, an option for some quarter panels, and when I got them, they were different, even though they were both for a 68, same car, same But and I think I showed that in some of my videos on Jade. The panel was different. I mean, the stamping was different. Two different companies. So that's why I went to Mustangs Unlimited, because I could just drive right there and pick my stuff. Now, I don't know who to go with, and that's frustrating. Have ordered stuff from CJ Pony Parts in the past, and I know I had some stuff. This was a while back. Had ordered some, I forget what it was. I don't know if it was doors or something, and every one of them showed up damaged. And I know it's not CJ's part; it's the shipping company, but the boxing wasn't the best. Could have been more protected. They were great doors otherwise, but so those are the first two to come to mind. Now, I think there's a place here in Atlanta somebody has told me about that's not too far away. I may check them out. I can't remember the name of it right now. And otherwise, your choices are limited. I know there's Kentucky. I think it's Kentucky Mustang or something, and of course NPD and stuff like that. Which the bulk of them all have the same parts and panels anyway. I may try to do some dealings with independent Dynacorn dealers. There's a guy I'm friends with on Facebook. So I may try to hook up with him and get some deals on some panels or something like that. Hi, Fairway. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Very happy to have the support, have you guys all here. Robert Wade, greetings from Australia. Well, let's see. That's 8 in the morning over there, isn't it? Is it 12 hours difference? I can't remember. I know I've actually talked to, I don't know his name. I know it's Mike. I talked to a Mike over there who's trying to build a 66 fastback and had all kinds of problems. So we were on the phone talking it over, trying to resolve his issues. And I know that we had to time out our calls a little bit. And I think he's still fighting with that. But yeah, Cecil, they closed their store. I'm so frustrated with that. I mean, Mustangs Unlimited, for the most part, did okay. They had good stuff, for what I needed. But I don't know. I don't know if they sold the company and somebody else decided that they didn't need to have a north and a south location. I don't know. But really frustrated with that. Jason, this Galaxie I'm building was Dad's first car. My first car was also a 64. His frame is crap, my body is crap, so I'm installing his body on my convertible frame along with installing new floors and quarters. Good deal. That's cool. Now you're both connected on that car. Josh, I pulled a 65 Coupe out of cow pasture last week up here in PA. It had been there since 78. Your videos have been awesome for instructional help for sheet metal work. Thank you so much. Rock on. Well, thank you, Josh. And I know exactly what you're dealing with the Pennsylvania car. If you go back and look at the the light blue Mustang, that was a Pennsylvania car. So, Leonard, Mustang's sheet metal is readily available at finding Gran Torino sheet metal. You have to settle with used sheet metal. Yeah, unfortunately, the Gran Torino wasn't nearly as popular as a Mustang, so the market isn't there for people to pop out panels. I know some people love them, but there's, unfortunately they don't care that so many people love them. They need to see turnover on parts and mass quantities. That's a good idea, Dave. Yeah, Josh, you gonna make some videos on your car? And if you are, that would be cool to see. If you haven't, and I've pointed this out before, if you haven't been on my Facebook page, Joe Daddy's Garage, you can go on there, and there's tons of pictures on there that I always have listed with the different cars. So if you're looking for just standalone pictures and stuff, and of course I do put stuff on Instagram. I'm not quite as quite as busy with it as on Instagram. I do try to put stuff on there though. Sam, are there any parts vendors that you not recommend? Well, the vendors, I can't really say that there's some that I wouldn't recommend. I can say there's some parts that I wouldn't recommend. And one of the big ones is anybody's building a 65 or 6 and they're changing out a tail panel, get original tooling. Period. Do not mess around. You're wasting your time otherwise. I have one laying out here getting ready to go to scrap that was a generic aftermarket. I wish I never would have bought the thing. I'd already started cutting on it and realized it wouldn't work. And I did a video on that as well. There are some panels, and the name escapes me at the moment. I've talked about them before. I think it starts with an S. But they are Spectre. Or Spectra. I think it's a name. They have really kind of generic panels. They end up, I've shown it in videos where they've sent me a front apron, I think on the 68, and it was horrible. I had to rework the thing just to get the shape right. They rough cut everything. It's not like a nice clean cut on stamps. They actually just looks like they cut it with a plasma cutter. And I'm really not a fan of that. So, well, 10 a.m. Robert. So you probably had breakfast already and headed out to the garage to go work on something. Hope so. It's 8 p.m. here. So, Josh, we will see I'm not the best in front of a camera. Well, you know what, Josh? You don't have to be. If you go back and look at all my earlier videos up until, I don't even remember, when I started doing Mystique, maybe, I rarely put my face in front of the camera because I really wasn't interested in it. I was just trying to, make the videos and get people involved. And I know whenever I started getting in front of the camera, I had somebody comment, "Oh, that's what you look like." They've heard my voice for so long, they didn't know what I looked like. And I hope they weren't disappointed. Jason, AMD is putting Torino parts out now. I just saw that on Instagram. I think it was Instagram. Yeah, I think it was Instagram where I saw that. And that's pretty cool. AMD is a really cool company. I wish they made Mustang parts. I really do, but the market isn't there for them. And I don't know if you know, the AMD was actually Goodmark. Well, the guy that started Goodmark, he owned AMD. And whenever the company grew and he got investors in there to help him expand, they took over and they decided they wanted to just stamp out Chinese junk. And so they took the name and voted him out of the company. And so he was had to sign a non-compete clause to be bought out or whatever. And so a year later, he popped out with AMD. And I mean, I've really been impressed by their stuff. I know I've used it on the Black 68 Camaro that I did. Really awesome stuff. So they do a good job. Dave Bertain. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Let me back up here to Gary. Do you think removing the shock towers from a Mustang 2 style suspension removes a lot of stiffness and integrity? Well, the towers are really there to support the suspension. That's what they do. The frame rails support, the front of the car and everything else, and the suspension is all, the tower is above that. So the aprons help, support some, but the frame rails are really your structure. So like with the Brooklyn Pony, we added those extra tubes on there to give it some more strength, but I don't think it really affects it that much, because again, that part is supporting the suspension, which is, lifting up the car. But put it all underneath and it should be just as solid. Dave, wondering how much time you spend dealing with lighting and camera work as well as editing when you spend a Sunday, Saturday working on a Mustang. Well, you know what, Dave? I actually thought about making a video about making a video, because I can tell you that I spend a lot of time. I know I get a lot of accolades for the quality of my videos and the information I put out and all that sort of thing, and that's partly why I've posted a Patreon link on my page, and I've said it before. I'm not asking for people to, throw money at me, but if they feel like they want to, that gives them an option. Because I can tell you that, like, if I do a video, like the last video I did on the Brooklyn Pony was like 40 minutes long, I think, somewhere in that range, and I probably had 3 hours of just footage and time to do all the repair and the video. You can probably double that, at least double that in time. So figure I probably had 8 hours in doing the repair, the video, lighting, and all that stuff. And then I probably had 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours in editing to try to whittle that down to a 45 minute video. So time wise, if I'm doing a 40-minute video, I probably have at least 10 hours, maybe even 12 total in just doing that one process. Loose can in my project is a 69 sports roof. I know I was going to find some things. I dug into it. I just never imagined everything I'd find and the length people will go to cover up problems. You're darn right. I mean, even at the body shop, I found so much stuff that was just unbelievably bad. And, we get a decent looking car and someone says, oh, the paint's cracking off of it. Well, yeah, it's because it's on top of an inch of Bondo. And people don't care. That's what irritates me. That's why I try to do these videos and say, look, here's how you do it, And the shortcut people just want to get it done and slap some paint on it and sell it. And that just makes me so mad. Yeah, Josh. Yep, I get you. Good point. Major flexes. I'm currently working on a 72 Mach 1 at home with little to no experience. Almost have the engine out. Should I pay to get it sandblasted? Good question. I don't know the condition of the car and how far you need to go, but if you have somebody you trust, somebody who's reputable, and you want to get it sandblasted, do it. Get it down to bare metal and get it in epoxy so you can start working on it. If you can do the soda blast, is probably better. It doesn't get the metal as hot and lessens the risk. So, warp, and that may be an option as well. Hopefully Leonard. Hopefully hopefully they're for Gran Torino. There's Torino parts out there, but they stopped at 71. Oh, sorry. I get you now. I was saying you're hoping that they were for Gran Torinos, that those panels are being made. And I'm going to probably say unlikely. But, yeah, they stopped at 71. I had somebody contact me. That was early this year. He doesn't live far away. He follows me on YouTube, but he asked about me working on his Torino and putting quarters on for him, or 1/4 at least. And man, we talked over some things, and I guess he decided not to. So, but he had a quarter panel, and it was I don't know who made it, but it was a pretty rough stamping as far as stampings go. Dave, my wife wants me to do videos as well, but I'm so busy I think it will slow me down too much. It does. I'll be honest. I mean, it takes time, and but I'm not going to stop. And once I get into it, and I know that I have a the fan base is growing and all that stuff, I'm used to it now. I'm so used to having a camera in front of me or sitting beside me and trying to talk to the camera and all that stuff. Loose cannon. This is my first. Oh, Josh, the bloopers are great. Yeah. Yeah, I decided it was when I saw somebody else do that once. I think it was What's Up Guy Garage. He put some bloopers on his. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen his videos, go check out What's Up Guy Garage. He's got all kinds of stuff he does, and he's been doing a lot with RC cars, which is pretty cool. He's built a track in his backyard, and he does 3D printing. He's got those little vector robots that you can kind of communicate with, and they hook up to Alexa. It's kind of cool to watch all that stuff, and he does a lot of those bloopers and stuff on his channel. So that's kind of what got me inspired, and I thought, you know what, I've got the footage, I'll just go ahead and put it on there. So yeah. Loose cannon, this is my first full restoration, so there's a lot I'm learning. Just finished bracing so I can put the Dynacorn complete floor under it, then swapping out the whole front end from doorpost forward. Yeah, that's a big project. That is a big project. I don't know if you're on Instagram or not or anything like that, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. Leonard, Major Flexes, you're welcome. Leonard, what do you think about them taking the 0509 Mustangs and skinning to 67s? I've seen a video. Honestly, I love it. I do. I love it. I think it's amazing. You've probably seen that blue one that guy did, and that thing was just turned out incredible. And I hate to say it, but I've been scouring the ads looking for what could be the possible car to do that too, because you get all the conveniences with air conditioning and drivetrain and brakes and airbags, all that stuff, but yet you got the skin of an old car. I just think it's fantastic. Incredible work by that guy too, just amazing. Loose cannon, yeah, they covered everything in tin and Bondo and then went back over and carved factory looking seams. At least the car will be fixed right. Yep, I ran into that exact same thing on the 68 Camaro that I did a while back. I bought the car thinking the guy had done all nice work to it. It was in primer. And I thought I was going to do a little to it and have it running. And that turned into a long-term project because I got sick finding the seams were carved into the Bondo. And the videos out there, that was just a nightmare to me. Let's see. Wesley Wright, Melvin's Classic Ford parts in Conyers, Georgia. I've ordered from them for my 72 Mach 1 Mustang. There's another place in Griffin that sells parts for Mustangs. It's called Mustang Junction. You know, Wesley, I've heard of Mustang Junction, but I also heard they don't have a lot of inventory. And so for me, if I'm going to go somewhere, because Griffin's not that far from me, but if I were to go somewhere, they need to have it on the shelf. I'm not going to go somewhere and order parts. If I'm going to get sheet metal in particular, I want to put my hands on it. Now, if I can't do that, I just have to order it and hope I get what I get. So, Rick Gain, the time you put into making these videos is appreciated. I thank you, Rick. And that's why I do those things. You know, it's people need to want to learn and need to learn, there's not very many people that have the outlet. And, you know, I've heard of people who, again, back to the Patreon account, where I've had people tell me that I should just do a teaser video and show some of the work and then say, go to my Patreon account, sign in, pay up, and you can watch the rest of it. That's not fair. I don't like that idea. I do appreciate the patrons that I have. You know, I'm thankful for them. But I'm not going to force somebody to pay to see this stuff. I'd rather just share the information up front and be done with it. Leonard, how much does Iron Man help you? Well, you know, not nearly enough. He's I think he's hanging out on a Mustang somewhere, but I have the big brother right here. He doesn't really help much because he's not very flexible. He kind of twists a little bit, but he can't even sit down right. I can't bend his legs and make him sit. So he's kind of useless. He's more for just, you know, impressive muscle, and that's about it. Yeah, loose cannon, get yourself an Instagram. It's easy to do. Yep. Yeah, that was a beautiful car, Leonard. How much do you think soda blasting would cost? I'm in Michigan and don't know anyone. I don't have an answer for you. You're going to have to look it up. Just do some Google searches and see what's available out there. I'm sure there's somebody. A lot of guys are mobile. They'll come to you. So I really don't have a number for you. I wish I did. Max 65. Do you prefer electric cooling fans or manual ones? Well, that's a good question. I can tell you these cars, and I see it all the time, especially on Facebook forums, Mustangs overheat. And it's a common issue with these cars. I know we did a 70 Mustang at the shop years ago and put dual electric fans on it. I think it was dual. And it couldn't keep it cool. I've seen some where, you know, just a standard fan has worked with a big radiator. So I really can't say one way or another whether I prefer, you know, electric over manual. But you got to remember these cars, when they were new, they had manual fans. They didn't have electric. And I don't know how bad they overheated at that point. But thanks, Jason. We'll see you later. Yeah, I don't know what. I can't say which is the best. I know there's multiple angles on electric over manual, but I don't have a good recommendation for you. Sorry. My Instagram, Josh, is Joe Daddy's Garage. Same thing. Yep. They're pretty easy to find. Glenn, what is temperature in Georgia? Well, you know what? It's overcast right now. And it is 8 o'clock at night. And I can tell you the temperature in Georgia is currently 84 degrees. Yeah, 8 o'clock at night, 84 degrees. So it's going to be 92 tomorrow. Well, 92, 94, 93 on up the rest of the week. So nice and hot. Yep, Joe Daddy's Garage. Yeah, I see somebody just joined me on Instagram. I guess it was you. Let me see. Let's see. I just had I guess that was you. Major Flexes. It says Sergeant, so I'm going to say that was you since maybe. Am I still? Jack asked, am I? Okay, yep. I got you, Major Flexes. I'll follow you back. How about that? Boom, done. Jack W, are you still happy with Mr. Cool? I am. In fact, it's on right now. I know you can't feel it. I can feel it. And like I said before, earlier in the video, I mentioned that I don't leave it on all the time. I turn it on in the morning before I come out here, and then use it, and then at night I turn it off, so it doesn't stay on all the time. 83 in New Jersey. Well, that's pretty close. I don't know how the humidity is. Leonard, I put a 4-core Desert on mine and an 8-blade fan and kept it cool. 4-core, I don't know what 4-core Desert is. I know what core, 8-blade fan. Okay. I guess there's some lost translation there. I'm not sure. Jack, building a 18 by 28 garage and want to install it in there. It'll work. I mean, this shop is 24 by 36, so it's probably pretty close as far as dimensions. Just make sure you insulate it, because without insulation, you're just wasting it. It's not going to hold up. It'll be running constant. So. $109 in the high desert, 108 in Arizona. Woo! But it's a dry heat. That's the difference. It's a dry heat. I can tell you this. On July 4th, I ran the Peachtree Road Race in Atlanta, which is a 10K. I started at 7:20 in the morning. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. I mean, it was, and I try to run outside as much as I can, try to prepare for it. It still took me just over an hour to finish, and it was rough. But 4th year in a row doing it, and I'll keep doing it. So if you ever run the Peachtree Road Race, maybe I'll see you there. I'm only there with 50,000 other people all at the same time. 48% humidity in New Jersey. Wow, that's way better than here. I can tell you that. Way better. Oh, a 4-core Desert radiator. Well, what's the difference? I mean, is that something specific between a 4-core Desert radiator or a 4-core radiator? I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe that's what they were intended for. I don't know. I've never looked it up. I've never considered that. So I've used pretty much the standard radiators that come in the cars. And as with the Brooklyn Pony's going to have that custom Griffin radiator. I think it's Griffin. Yeah, Griffin, which is really cool. So, and that's why, if you saw in the video on that car, I modified the core support so that it would fit better, because the opening's different between different years. So put in the bigger radiator, make adjustments. As with everything else, make adjustments. So I don't know if there must be some sort of lag. Josh, electronic, I guess you mean electric water pumps. That's an option. It depends on what you're doing, but that the water pump's going to run regardless. If you're belt driven, it's still going to run. Just moving fluid. I don't know if it would be any advantage to having the electric unless you're doing some, drag racing or something like that, and trying to reduce draw on the engine, as far as horsepower. So, Glenn, Joe, how old are you getting to be now? Oh gosh, I turned 52 in May, so I'm just old enough to get in trouble still. That's funny. I've been You know, because this all this stuff out in the garage is part time. You know, it's not my full time thing. As I've mentioned before, I'm an aircraft mechanic, so I work on planes, and 52 is the minimum age I can retire, which I'm not going to. But you know, now that I think about that, I'm like, oh wow, that would be so cool if I could step away. But the channel would need to have probably well over 100,000 subscribers, and I don't know what else I need to do to get it there. You know, I'm picking up uh, about 800 subscribers a month now. You know, and it's not like there's other channels where they have, you know, 1 million subscribers. And I know I don't put out a video every week. Some people put out a video like every day practically. Um, I just can't make myself do that. I like to try to keep my videos, I don't know, more about what the project is and just putting something out there. Yes, there's a difference in the cores. Well, Leonard, I'll have to look that up because I guess I've never really thought about that. Yeah, sorry about shaking the camera. Now it's showing up. Delay. I'll have to look that up and get some information on it. In fact, if you can send me any kind of information on Facebook, go ahead and do that. So, Rick, I have a 4-core radiator in my 65 Coupe with a Milo-built 302 and a mechanical fan, and never have any problems with overheating. That's good, because I know I see it all the time. There's on forums on Facebook, my car overheated, my car overheated, my car overheated. So it's always some sort of conflict. Let's see. Yeah, Glenn. Oh, I'm hanging in there. You know, I mentioned before I was in the military, and when I got out of the military, I quit exercise and I quit working out. And really, if you look at probably some of my earlier videos, you know, I was quite a bit heavier and just didn't care, you know. And then I started doing the Spartan races, and that kind of lit a fire in me, and I got back into running again when I was 46, and I just keep doing it, and you know, it helps me stay in shape. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I try to run at least twice if I can, or at least twice or 3 times a week if I can. So yeah, I'm not going down without a fight. I can tell you that. Let's see. Thank you, Major Flexes. Appreciate that. Josh, do you work a full-time 9 to 5 on top of all the shop garage work? I actually work 12-hour shifts. 3 days a week plus an extra day every 3rd week to make up the time. Because if you do the math, 36 hours isn't a 40-hour work week, so I have to make up time. And that extra, the 3rd week I work another 12-hour shift, so I work 48 hours. And that's all on the weekend. I actually work weekend shift. So I am off during the week, the bulk of the week. And that's how I get out here and get so much, or do stuff on the cars and have that time. If I could, I would work 12-hour shifts in the middle of the week, so I had my weekends off. But I really don't have weekends off, and I haven't had weekends off in, gosh, 7 years. I've been working weekend shift for 7 years now, at least 7 years, maybe 8, a long time. Yeah, Leonard, it is 2,500 miles. But that, you know, that's why the videos are so cool and easy to do, and you can queue them up whenever you want and watch them at your leisure. So that's cool. Max 65. I'm truly surprised the car channels have not given you your own show yet. You know, that would be pretty cool. I don't know what it takes to do that. I actually had a interview. I think it was TLC or somebody, the Learning Channel or one of them, and it was to host a show. And I did I think 1 or 2 phone interviews, and they went with somebody else. And I think I've seen the show. I think it was something about what's it worth or something like that. What's my car worth? And the host on there was not, to me, wasn't very appealing. He didn't have a lot of character, and you know, as you can, I like to talk. I've had people complain about me talking on the videos, but or talking too much, because get to the job, get the work done, quit talking. Well, sometimes you got to explain things, but I think I would be really enjoy doing a show of some sort, but maybe that day will come. I don't know. Oh, Jack, that's what I was just talking about, was that show, and it fell through. What branch? Well, if you look back there, you'll see a flag on the wall. U.S. Army, 10th Mountain Division. I was in 85 to 88, so I was 11 Charlie, mortar gunner, infantry. Banga, thanks Joe, for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome. I'm glad to share it. Loose Cannon, I greatly appreciate what you're doing. Your videos and in-depth explanations are a great learning tool. I wish I could stay up, but work comes early in the morning, so have yourself a good night. Well, thanks for being here. Appreciate you leaving a comment, and stay tuned. There will be more videos coming. Nobody, thank you for all the videos and info. You're welcome. Glad to share it. Josh, man, good for you. I'm 25 and struggle to find time for cars. I've been working Saturdays for 6 years and worked for 10s for a while. I feel your pain. Thank you for service in the military. Well, thank you for commenting. And yeah, it's tough to find time. I know before I was working, when we had the body shop, I was working at my main job during the week, and then I was working at the body shop. No, I was working my main job on the weekends, working full-time shifts at the body shop, and then I would come home and I would work on my cars here at the home shop. So I couldn't tell you how many hours I was putting in per week, but it was probably 90 to 100 hours a week of actual work time. So, but now I don't do that anymore. I'm not going to kill myself like that. 0341 Mortar, now Recruiter USMC. I'll say hua to you, Major. I have a hard time saying oorah, but I will say hua. Yep. Something about firing those mortars, man. 81 millimeter. Boom, boom, boom. Send it. So funny, you'll watch it on TV and you see somebody, they'll show a mortar. And if you ever watched any old movies, they drop around in the barrel and it goes boop, boop. What? That's a cannon. It's firing a projectile downrange. I think a mile and a half, and I forget what they weighed. I think they were like 13 to 15 pound shells. And you're going to launch that thing a mile and a half away and it's going to go boop. Yeah, 81s. I did fire some 4 Deuce though, which is, for all you that are watching along, 4.2 inch mortar, which are usually fired from a tracked vehicle, which I did that. Hitman, yeah. Leonard, they're lost as far as your talking goes on, your videos. The more you talk, the more we learn, so keep it up. Okay. I can do that. It's usually somebody who's just, maybe they're new to the channel, don't know my style. Some people, like if I'm doing a repair video, brake job or something like that, I try to, give some details of what I'm doing and why. And, some people are like, I just want to see the end result. I just want to see you do, get the work. It's like, well, not everybody has that skill set, and they need to have information before they can, do the job. Oh, I may try to tag this as well if you're following along, and maybe I can add it to the description later. If you're interested and you decide, if you've seen my later videos, I have links to Amazon, so you can actually order or go to my Amazon page, Joe Daddy's Garage. I actually have a page now on Amazon, and the reason for that is, I've got my subscriber base is big enough that I can be an influencer, let's say. So I've got an Amazon link that I've been posting on the page, and if somebody were to go through my page and order something, even if it's not something I list, if it's just something, if they went through my page, I get a credit for it, which is cool. It doesn't cost anything. So if you were to go and order a new mouse, but you started off on my page or followed one of my links, and you said, oh, I'm not interested in any of that, but you went on and did a search for Logitech mouse and you bought one, well, I would get a little tiny percentage from that. So just keep that in mind. And I think tomorrow is Amazon Prime Day. I think you can get free shipping even if you don't have Amazon Prime. And if I can figure out how to do it, they sent me a link that'll help out with that somehow. But I'll try to find that link and post it on the description. So just keep that in mind if you're wanting to order something. Like I said, it doesn't cost any extra, and it throws a few pennies my way. So every little bit helps. Josh agreed. The spot weld drilling and relief cuts are amazing. Had no idea how far you could get with just that. Yeah, it's funny. I've said it before. I grew up in my dad's junkyard, and I would, I took apart so many cars, and I learned so much from doing that. And whenever whenever the cars come in that were wrecked, I would do my own little investigation on those things, and I would look them over and see what failed or how they were built or what things separated. And I guess I've always kept a log kind of in my mind of those events and those sort of things. And I could still pull up memories of old Falcons and Corvairs and all, just whatever, and logging that information. And by seeing that and seeing how the metal does certain things when you hit it a certain way, and I don't know, I guess I've just kind of used that to my advantage and figured out how to manipulate metal in certain ways that seems to work well for me. Dave, has anyone ever walked up to you on the street and say, hey, you were from Joe Daddy's Garage? Once. One time. And I think might have been early this year. There's a gentleman who actually contacted me about building a subframe or something for his Ford truck. And he only lives one city north of me. And I was at the local Harbor Freight. I think I was buying some air tools or something. And I was in there dressed like I normally have, a green hat on, my gray shirt. And he kind of looked at me and he said, I know you. And I looked at him and I was like, the funny part was somehow I ended up with his picture on my phone. So I recognized his picture. And so we had a little conversation, just talking about stuff, and it was kind of interesting. But that's the only time I've ever had that. Maybe someday, I'll have that happen in a different environment. But if it does, it does. I'm not worried about it. David, this may have been asked. Does the Brooklyn Pony owner care about when the car will be done? How did he hire you to do the job? How can I get on the list to work on one of my projects? Well, I basically right up front with this project, I told him I don't have a timeline. I mean, he may have. I know he probably has. Would like. He obviously would like to have the car back right now, and I know that. And at times, I feel bad that I can't get it done fast enough. But there's also been times where things have been delayed, due to parts and different things. But I've told him from the start. I said I work on my schedule. Because I don't do this for a living. I don't. My hands aren't bound. I'm not forced to come out here and work myself. To get stuff done. I do come out here. I like to get stuff done. I like to make progress. So I can't say there's a specific timeline. The sooner the better, because honestly, I would like it to be done too. I would like it to be in his hands and him driving it, enjoying it, and me moved on to the next project. So hopefully that we see some progress, but I can't say there's a specific timeline. And he did actually. He found me on YouTube. He was watching the videos and saw the work that I was doing and was very happy with it. And we managed to connect and, worked out a deal. So that's why it's here. And as far as a list, I don't have a list, honestly, because I can't, because I don't work on a specific timeline and because I don't do this for a living, I'm not going to write down a list, because if I do that, then I feel totally obligated to doing that particular job. And then maybe something comes up in my life that I want to do something else at that point. I don't know. So I don't have a written down list. I have one car that I'm supposed to do next. That was agreed to a long time ago. And so if that one comes about, I'll still do it. Otherwise, I don't have a timeline, and I don't have a standing list. I've had some great offers. I can tell you that, man. I've had some people offer me some very fantastic cars, and I tell them the same thing. I don't have a list, and I don't operate on a timeline. So it's just the way it is. If I had a full-size shop with employees, I would be overflowing with projects. I would have so many. I can't tell you. I get contacted several times a month, if not once a week, where somebody wants me to do their project for them. So I could easily have a body shop, but I don't want the stress. I don't want it. I can't handle it. I like doing it the way I'm doing it. So, Leonard, building a car trailer and using 4-inch drop axles and need all suspension parts from Amazon, and for the price can't pass them up. If you're gonna get them, Leonard, go through my page. I'm telling you. I don't know if you're a Prime member or not, but if I can post that link, you could get do the Prime thing and get the free delivery, I guess. But yeah, every little bit helps. In fact, like my youngest son, who I've talked about before, he's a police officer, and very proud of him for that. He recently ordered a TV and stuff from Amazon and used my link, and so I got a little kickback from that. I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, Dave, famous. Major Flexes, how did you get into the aircraft mechanic work? Well, I can tell you this. When I finished up my 3 years in the Army, I had ridden a fair amount. I mean, I was airborne, air assault, jungle qualified. I trained all over the place, and I rode a bit in helicopters between the Hueys and the Blackhawks, and I thought it would be pretty awesome to either be a pilot or a crew chief, and so I tried to re-enlist for that, a pilot or a crew chief. I met all the requirements, but at that time they said they were downsizing and there were no openings and blah blah blah. And so I just said, okay, fine, I'm done. And when I did, I got out of the Army and I went to A&P school up in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics. Graduated from there and got hired straight out of school. So I've been working on aircraft for 28 years. And I started off doing sheet metal work, hard to believe, and just bounced around from various positions in the shop or in the company. I did inspection work for 6 years, and currently I operate 4 great big vacuum furnaces. I heat treat engine parts. That's my job, and I enjoy it, and it's very rewarding. So I will say this, for those of you watching, I know there's only like 42 people watching right now. If you have any interest in doing aircraft maintenance, if you have any interest in a hands-on, technical job, and you have some skills, if you can turn wrenches, if you understand how to read paperwork and that sort of thing, if you're at all interested, try to get involved in aircraft maintenance. The airlines are going to be they need mechanics right now, and the difficulty is they're sending people to get tested, and a lot of people can't pass the mechanical aptitude test, and it is kind of hard, but if you have a basic understanding of how pulleys and gears turn and basically stuff, I want to make it. I don't want to make it difficult, but if you took, a cardboard box and you splayed it open and saw all the dashed lines representing a fold, and you can put it together in your head, that's the kind of thing you're looking for. So, pretty good career. Look into it. Okay, yeah, Leonard, I'll post it. I think I posted on Facebook as well. I have it listed there. But it's on, if you go to any of my latest videos, there's an Amazon link on there. But I'll try to see if I can get the other one on this live stream. And they sent me some sort of a link, and I don't remember how. I'll have to look it up because I'm not going to have time right now. Dave, hey Joe Daddy, how did you come to be doing this as not a regular job? Well, I was just talking about that. I've been an aircraft mechanic for 28 years, had a body shop for 8 years of that, and got out of the body shop work and just started doing this at my house as a side thing. So my career is aircraft maintenance. That's where my income comes from, and that supports me and my family. So I'm going to keep doing that for a while. I could retire this year technically, but I'm not going to. I'll probably have to go another, probably 7 years, something like that. But unless this channel grows and goes crazy, and then starts really generating some revenue. It's like, I'm sure you all see the ads on the videos, and there will be ads on this video, I'm sure. But those ads is what puts money down. So I think they have algorithms built to where if the ad runs a certain period of time or whatever, those kind of things, it helps the revenue stream somehow. I don't know. It's not my thing really, but Major Flex is, yep. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been a good career, and they love having, the airlines love having ex-military, even if you didn't do aircraft stuff, if you did anything and you were in a military mindset, they like that because they know you already have the discipline in place, and can be trained and trustworthy and that sort of thing. So really cool. David Blackburn, corporate aviation needs mechanics also. I believe it. I know that when I hired in, the bulk of us hired in 90, 89, 90, 91, 92. And the reality is we're all getting old, in the age bracket. And they didn't do a lot of hiring after that. And so it was very short, the amount of people that were hired in after that. So, like I said, they're struggling right now. I mean, they need mechanics, and it's a great career. I mean, flight benefits, health benefits, all those things that everybody wants. Dave Haberman, love your vids, and instruction and sharing knowledge is awesome. Thanks. You're welcome, Dave. Thank you for commenting. And yeah, I'm glad you're here and watching. You know, I'm already up to an hour and 40 minutes that I'm just sitting here. I had somebody tell me who's kind of in the industry of doing these um, doing stuff with advertising or with YouTube and stuff like that. He's got a pretty good business going. And anyway, he commented that he said nobody does what I'm doing right now. Nobody does, just sits down and answers questions. And I said, well, why not? You know, I'm just a regular person. I'm not some, I don't think I'm anything special. And he said, yeah, but nobody does that. Nobody would sit down and just talk to the computer for 2 hours. Oh, yeah. Why not? I know I haven't done this in a while, but hey, why not? You know, if it helps out, it helps out. Gets people watching. Dave, a bit of change of topics. So, are you just loving insulated shop with AC? I am. Let me tell you. You know, when I did that video where I installed that unit, and I think I showed pictures, maybe. I can't remember. I think I did. Where my shirt was soaked with sweat, and it seems like, and I have to go back in time a little bit. I used to never sweat. I mean, if I did, it was very little. And since I've been working out and exercising, that has changed. Probably a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I was out on a run on a very hot day, and I pushed myself too hard. I did a 10K, and it was middle of the day, smoking hot, and I just kept on going and going and going. Well, I ended up giving myself heat exhaustion, and I literally had water or sweat just running out of me, and it was terrible. I got really kind of sick from it. My head hurt. I was done. Well, since that time, I would sweat so easily now, and like when I go for runs, I struggle because I overheat real fast. So yeah, having this AC out here, it's fantastic. Really makes a world of difference. Yeah, you can't really see it. Shop's like at 78 degrees out here right now, something like that. I don't even have the AC on full blast. It's just on. Major Flexes. Yep, you're welcome, and glad you stopped by. Leonard, I live by the old George Air Force Base and always seeing aircraft being worked on. Yeah. I mean, it's not going anywhere. The aircraft industry is not going anywhere. They fly. It's unbelievable. If you've ever been to Atlanta Airport, you know there are untold thousands of people that go in and out of Atlanta every single day. It is the busiest airport in the world, and it's just hard to imagine the coordination it takes to make all that happen and keep things moving. But yeah, the aircraft industry, it's not going anywhere. Stupid. Oh, apparently I can kind of clicking around on this thing, trying to learn. So I've been doing this an hour and 45 minutes, and the average watch time is 10 minutes and 32 seconds. I need bigger numbers. Yeah, I can imagine being in the Philippines. That would be rough. The only thing I trained in Panama, and it was only a month, but it was plenty. It was very, very humid. What was my first car? You may have asked me on Facebook. You may have, and I could tell you this: the first car. Well, I started driving when I was 12, and I used to take my. I think my sister had a Pinto wagon, and I would drive to the local farm and get milk. I think I was 12 or 13, and so I would drive. But that wasn't my car; that was her car. Um, but the first car that was assigned to me for me to drive was horrible. It was a 1973 or 4 AMC Matador. It was green and black, and I think the upper half was green and the bottom half was black, and somebody painted it with a brush before my dad got it, and it had a plaid green and black interior. It was horrible. 6-cylinder automatic, and um, yeah, I was 16 when I started driving that car, and I think the first few weeks I drove it was okay, and then all of a sudden it may have gotten airborne, and the whole exhaust came off of the car. And so my dad, when I brought it home from where I was, he said, junk it. So it ended up in a junkyard. Gary, time to go out to the garage and work on pulling a donor engine and transmission. Okay, yeah, keep listening. Cool. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that. I really do. It's nice to hear somebody say you were a great American. That's good. I like that. There are times where we don't hear that, and not all of us are great Americans, and I consider myself average. But thank you very much for that comment. But Dave, back to the car. I also had I drove a 62 Dave, not sure if you remember our conversation from Facebook. I actually do remember, Dave. Had a wrecking yard too. Had a first street legal car was a 68 Mustang. I had it 27 years by the time I turned 16. I had 27 cars. Sorry, 27 cars by the time I turned 16. Yeah, I wasn't so lucky. I have an older brother, 6 years older than me, who is 10 times the mechanic I'll ever be, and he destroyed things. He would go out and get a car and drive it and come home with pieces missing, or I just made a mess of things, and so he ruined it for me because when it came time for me to get cars and stuff, my dad wouldn't let me have anything nice. He just thought that I was going to do the same thing my brother did, so that's why I ended up with junkers. But one of the cooler cars that I drove when I was 16 was a 62 Galaxie 500 two-door hardtop. Had the 352 V8 with a 3-speed on the column. I also got my first speeding ticket in that car. And I was 16 at the time, and I was doing 78 and a 55. And that car was great. I love that car. It was black, all black interior. And I ended up getting pulled over, and the car was supposed to have a state inspection sticker on it. And because my dad basically had dealer type tags, and when the officer approached the car, the sticker was out of date, I had no proof of insurance. I was 16 and I was driving after midnight, which is illegal. And of course, I was speeding. So he gave me a speeding ticket regardless. I kind of talked my way out of all the other stuff. And so that was my first speeding ticket. 62 Galaxie 500. Yep. That was not fun. First car I drove solo in was a 64 Studebaker Lark. I love Studebakers. I think you've probably seen posts that I put on Facebook. And if I could find the right one. My dad has a 63 Avante. Well, my dad and brother fighting over whatever. 63 Avante with an R1 package in it. And I just know growing up around, my dad had over 100 Studebakers in the junkyard because he used to race them and he kept breaking them. So that's why he kept buying more to replace parts. He raced at a local dirt track. But I would love to have a 53 or 54 Commander. Would be fine. V8 obviously. And hardtop. I love the hardtop 53, 54 Commander. The 55 is good, but the front end isn't as cool because it has too much of a mouth on it. I love that drop nose on the 53 and 54. So I would love to have one of those. And I love the 59 and 5960 Lark hardtop, two-door hardtop. I just love them. Just a little Econobox car looking thing. And, just really cool. Yeah. Oh, Dave, you're right. The 64 Lark Daytona is what that was. Yes. And my brother has a 64 Daytona, two-door hardtop with 4-speed. And he's got a supercharger on his factory Studebaker engine. And I remember that car, you could control that supercharger with a toggle switch. And we went I think I was 16, maybe not even 16, I might have been 15. I was probably 14 or something. But we went for a ride in his car, in his Daytona, flying down the highway, and he flipped that supercharger on, and the tires broke loose, and the car went broadside, and we were doing like 75 or 80 miles an hour at the time. That was scary. Unbelievable how much power those cars had for that time period. Well, yeah, Dave, it was a tapered nose. Yeah. When I think airplane nose, I automatically default to the bullet nose, 51, 52, 53 bullet nose. But just the champion, or president, they had various names. Just that long, the one that Lowy designed, everybody uses it, the salt flats to set speed records, for racing. That's the one I really like. So, yeah, 65 Galaxie. Yeah, that's the one we did, that convertible. Yep. Robert Adams, thank you for your detailed videos. You're a great resource for rebuilding my 66, which needed a lot of work because of poorly repaired accident damage in the 80s. Yep. Yeah, they didn't do much quality work back then. I guess part of it was they didn't have the resources, and they just patched it together and threw Bondo on it and painted it, cashed the check. Let's see, Josh Ruth, I'm curious, how many vice grips do you own? You've definitely made me a bigger believer in Harbor Freight recently. I don't know if you can see on my toolbox or my welder right there. I don't know how many is on there, but there's probably 25 or 30 vice grips on that shelf, on that plate that I made back there on the welder. And there's more in the drawers. I love vice grips. I can't, if I see a cool looking design or something, I'll buy them. Very handy. Dave, would you ever do a fastback conversion? I would. But and this was brought up before, I would like to find the right donor car. In a way, I hate to say it, I've thought about cutting up Jade and turning it into a fastback. But since I've already done all the work to it and I have the quarters on it and all that sort of thing, and it is a coupe car, I don't want to do any more work to it like that. I just don't. I'm happy with what it is, and it's going to be a cool car. But I would consider doing a fastback conversion. I've been, and I mentioned this before, I've been looking, whether it's on Marketplace, on Facebook, or Craigslist, or whatever. If I run across the right car, cheap enough, I would really, really consider it. And it would probably be probably a 69 or 70 would be what I would really want, because I think I've said it before, my dad had a 69 Mach 1, and it was Acapulco Blue, 351 4-speed car, and I would probably replicate that just because I love that car. But I wouldn't mind doing a 67 or 68 in that same way. And again, I'd have to find the right car. And I messed up earlier this year. There was a 69 sports roof on Facebook Marketplace, and it was completely butchered. The whole back end and bottom end of the car was cut out, and the front frame rails have been cut up, and it was just butchered. And I hesitated. I should have bought it. I think they sold the car with, it had doors and fenders and maybe a hood and whatnot, but it gave me it had the main structure of the car. And I think I could have got it for like $1,200, and I hesitated, and I regret that, because that would have been the car to build. It was a 6-cylinder car, and I could have done whatever I wanted to with it, because nobody would have cared. It was just a pile of junk metal, and I would have turned it into a super nice car. And I guess on one hand, I'm disappointed that I missed out on it, but on the other hand, I know I have other things to do, so it would have sat for quite a while. Glenn Williams, what wax do you like? I don't know. I haven't really used much wax. Typically, we get a car done, after it's all buffed out. I haven't really applied wax to any of them because they get sent off. They go to the owner picks them up or whatever. But I will use McGuire's one, touch up, quick touch, I think it's called, to clean up dust and debris and stuff like that. So I don't have a specific wax, but McGuire's makes good products. But I can't point my finger at one and say, this is it. So, Mike Esposito, do you do your own paint work? Yes, I do. And I've mentioned this before. I prefer to do sheet metal. That's my thing. I don't mind painting. It's not my number one thing in life. I love the end result. I love when it's finished, but the stress of painting is what bothers me, because I do all the work to get the car perfect, or as close to perfect as I can. And if I spray something and have an issue, then I feel like I have to start over, and that's painful, So that's why I kind of stress out over doing paint. Let's see. Dave had a 68 GT Fastback S-Code big block car. Very cool. Probably wish you still had that one. Steve White, hey, I just got a couple things to ask. I came across two 21-inch Model T 25-spoke wheels, 1926 to 30 wheels, hand painted, wheels green. I was just wondering what they're worth. Probably not much, because they reproduce those now. The Model T wheels, Model T, those, I mean, somebody who's looking for one may be interested, but odds are I can't say that there's going to be any great value in those wheels, because those wheels had issues. They could get out of line, get out of shape pretty easily, and so there was a lot of them out there because somebody may have just replaced a set because they vibrated or something or whatever. But you can go to I use Mike's Affordable. If you look them up, Mike's Affordable is one vendor that I used when I built the Model A, and they probably have a listing for those parts and give you an idea what a new one would cost, and so you might be able to base it on that. But honestly, if you got $50 a wheel, you'd probably be doing pretty good. Just my opinion. Hi, James. Glad you're here. It's been 2 hours. Yeah, Dave. I missed that 69 Mach 1 that my dad had, and that's a long, sad story, but car had 16,000 miles on it when he sold it. And yeah, I know what it's like. It's one of the few cars that probably the only car that I really ever wanted just to have, but that's life. Hey, it's Buck's Wood Shop. Say hey, everybody. Welcome to the wood shop. If you haven't checked out Buck's Wood Shop, check them out too. And I've said it before, check out What's Up Guy Garage. Get over there and subscribe to his channel. Help him grow. Double R Restoration. You need to go check out the work that he's doing. He's building some really cool second generation Camaros, so you need to check him out. What's the other one? Can't think of the name. Anyway, check out those. And also go check out my other channel, just because I'm trying to make it grow as well. And if you haven't, you might find it entertaining, but it's just Joe Daddy's Workshop. So that number's growing, starting to show some growth, and go check it out. I do a lot of different things on there, and I'm building a trike right now, which is what that is. I don't know if you can see it, but that's my gas-powered tricycle that I'm putting together. And I've got 2 videos on that, and it's it's going to get modified some more. So yeah, Buck, I'm trying to come up with I'm trying to remember who the other, VW Darren. That's a good channel, if you're looking at VW stuff. And and also check out Mustang Connection. If you're not friends or you don't follow Mustang Connection, you're missing out. So go check out his channel. And he has some really cool stuff on there. He does a lot of car show stuff and Mecum auction stuff like that. And he really knows the ins and outs of these cars. So, somebody who, when you say, what number does this do? Like you read off the VIN code and all the number, and he can identify it real quick and tell you that it had this engine and this carburetor and this transmission. I'm not really that fluent in those numbers. I don't keep up with it as much as he does. So, yeah, it's Rich from Mustang Connection. Thanks, Buck. Robert Rowe asked, thoughts on a 1960s Mustang drip rail delete? It's up to you. I don't have an issue with it. These cars, they started doing drip rails long time ago, because the idea was, obviously to keep the water out of the car. I look at it like this: if you're not going to be out in the weather, or you're not concerned with a little bit of water getting into it, cut them off. If it looks nice to you, it looks nice to you. It's really up to the end user. The issue on these 65 and 6 especially, and even the 7 and 8, and probably even the later ones, they had rust issues. So sometimes it's easier to just get rid of them, especially since they don't make drip rails for the coupes at all, and you have to do customizing. That's what I know there's some people out there, I've seen their videos, and they're like, what do I do? What do I do? And you saw I did a video where I bought a car just for the drip rail, really. But I'm not against it, just up to you whether you like it or not. So let's see. It is after 9 o'clock, and I think I'm gonna have to end this. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you all came by to stop and listen and talk and ask questions. Hopefully I can do this again sometime before too long. I know it's been quite a while, but I forget. I used to do a regular vlog too, and I've kind of gotten away from that. And I guess I haven't really. Maybe I should start posing this question. I do all my car videos, and I mentioned this earlier in the stream that I did a podcast with a guy. I think it's called Mustang, the early years or something, and I'll probably post a link to that on my Facebook page later, because it's supposed to come out this week on the podcast. But I guess he pointed out that some people want to know more about me, not just about cars. I'm not necessarily the go-to personality guy that all these other channels might have, and I don't know if I should do other videos like that, or if I should just maintain what I'm doing. So any feedback on that would be great. But that's it. I'm gonna have to go. So again, check out my other channel, Joe Daddy's Workshop. Check out Buck's Wood Shop. Check out Double R Restoration, VW Darren, Mustang Connection. Check all those out. Check out What's Up Guy Garage. You might find some entertaining stuff there too. Go check him out. And then I'm also going to, like I said before, Amazon. Go through my page if you can. I get a little credit out of that. Doesn't affect the price at all, and it helps me out. So, and if you're interested and you want to do a Patreon account or with Patreon, links are on the channel. So, that's fine. But I'll try to post a link to the Amazon thing on here when I finish up. And that's it. So until next time, thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you.